Welcome to The Favorites, the podcast presented by Bet365. We are part of the Action Network. Today is our Tuesday Super Bowl preview episode. I am Chad Millman, Chief Content Officer of the Action Network. Listen, we've been doing some incredible analysis all across the Action Network the past 10 days. Loads of props, opinions on the sides, a steady stream of support for value on betting. Will there be overtime? Yes. That one of our guests, Nick Giffen, has been promoting all week long. On Thursday, Simon and I will finalize our bets. Today, we are going to dig very deep on mostly props with two of the most respected player projectionists in the business. First up, Chris Raybon. He just wrapped up his sixth season of the oft-mentioned weekly NFL betting preview on the Action Network podcast alongside the king of degeneration, Stuckey. Raybon also is a regular on our Sunday morning panel show, Convince Me. We're also joined, as I said, by Luck Rankings architect Nick Giffen, along with the Sunday Six Pack and Raybon and Stuckey, might be the second most referenced brand and name in the Favorites universe, the multi-universe. Nick is part of our predictive analytics team, and more importantly, host of the coolest show we do, Bet What Happens Live with Dr. Nick. At the end of today's episode, we will announce the winner of the Favorites podcast Bet365 Super Bowl prop contest. Will reveal which listener's prop bet is now up and ready for wagering on Bet365. Plus, we'll hear from the winner of the contest himself, Matt Mitchell. Sat down with the winner. Before we get to Chris and Nick, let's bring in my co-host, my BFF, my companion, my compadre, professional bettor, back on the East Coast, Simon Hunter. Hello, Simon.
Chad, how we doing, brother?
Brother, you've been on the East Coast for about 48 hours, maybe, and you've already caught a cold.
Yeah, if I was gonna say if that, yeah, as soon as I got back to New Jersey, I think it was 28 degrees when I landed, and obviously I wasn't ready for it. I am sick. Thank God it's not COVID, but yeah, it's rough when you're sick and you're getting used to back to being cold, Chad. I think you remember whenever you go away and you come back, it's always like, why do we live in the Northeast? But this is the place we love and the place we like to live.
Simon, I usually at some point in the winter just give up all pretense. And by 7 p.m., I'm under the covers. And last night was the night. It was 7 p.m. I finished dinner. I think my kid was out. Stacy had just gotten home. And I'm like, I'm going up. And she's like, already? I was in bed. And honest to God, my limbs were cold until 11:30, like just freezing. And by the way, I don't even think I left my house yesterday. That's how uncomfortable I was. Stephen was like, just turn up the heat. I'm like, I can just get in bed. It'll be fine.
Well, if you're gonna be a hermit, you know what you need to do? You need to go get those new Apple goggles. I went and got them, Chad. It is truly life-changing. It is the weirdest thing ever, but it is. The future is now.
Dude, that's a whole separate podcast we're going to talk about. Because I've been wondering who was going to buy those. As a reminder, the Favorites podcast is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays. And they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boosts. Check out the boost and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, restrictions apply. I like that our sponsors are adding so many more states so fast. As a reminder, catch every episode of The Favorites live on YouTube. For those enjoying on YouTube, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the Action Network YouTube page. All right. We got Raybon. We got Giffen. They are masters of their craft. We're going to go through 4 or 5 picks, whatever it takes. Raybon, you're up first. Give the people what they want. Tell them what they want to hear. What side are you on in the game?
What's up, Chad? What's up, y'all? I am on the Kansas City Chiefs +2. And I think there are a lot of different small things that add up to where if you just look at the full season numbers, you're going to get San Francisco should be the obvious favorite, and they are. But I think the market's underrating a few things. I think the biggest thing is that in that championship game, Tony, Hardman, Sky Moore, Justin Ross, 4 of their wide receivers, they played one combined snap outside of the kneel downs, and that was McCole Hardman getting 1 snap. Those guys have accounted for 11 drops, 7 interceptions on the year, completely inefficient in terms of a yards per play basis, 4 fumbles, 2 game-losing plays, both by Kadarius Toney. So if you look at Mahomes, his yards per attempt, just removing those 4 guys, goes from 7 to 7.5. A half a yard an attempt that's correlated directly with point differential. His interception rate nearly cuts in half. And then this San Francisco pass defense, since Hufanga went down on third downs, they're bottom 3 pass defense. Like, not a lot of people are talking about that. They've really struggled. And then you also look at, okay, well, Pacheco, he played 93% of the snaps last week. He's probably going to do that again. He averages 4.5 yards per carry, just under. All other running backs that touched the ball for the Chiefs this year averaged just under 3.5 yards per carry. So I don't think this Chiefs offense is, like everyone's saying, this, it's like, it's not the usual Chiefs offense. They're not good, but they really trimmed all the fat. And so I expect them to do that again. And then on the other side of the ball, Brock Purdy, his 4 worst games came in times where, Debo is hurt for part of them. I think Trent Williams is hurt, but 9 of his 12 picks and 11 of his 21 turnover-worthy throws came in 4 games. And it was that Cleveland game, Minnesota, Cincinnati, and Baltimore. What do they all have? Great defensive coordinators. Jim Schwartz, Brian Flores, Anarumo, who famously shut down Mahomes, Mike McDonald, the hottest head coaching candidate. Steve Spagnuolo might be better than all those guys. Remember, last year, everyone was worried about Kansas City's run D, right? Coming against Philly, #1 run offense. They held them to 3.6 yards a carry in the Super Bowl on 32 carries. So I trust Spagnuolo here. I think we should too. And I mean, Mahomes is a dog, 10-1-1 against the spread, covering by 7.5 points per game. In the postseason, he's lost 3 times in 17 playoff games, twice to Tom Brady, once to Joe Burrow, and kind of like a freak game where they screwed up before the end of the first half and didn't get any points when they were on like the 1-yard line. And that's all his losses. So now he's an underdog against Brock Purdy. I'll take the points all day.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Simon, you and I are going to go so deep on this on Thursday, breaking down this game and the sides and the total. But here's a question I have for you before we get to the next bet, which is, we firmly believed in the Ravens in the AFC title game. Well, you did. And partially because we expected the Ravens to do the right thing, which was run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Raybon just made a really good point. No Justin Ross, no Mecole Hardman, no Kadarius Toney. Like, they basically sat every guy who is terrible on the Chiefs. They finally got around to that. Was that a one-time thing? Can we expect them to do it again? What is your take on that part of the scenario? Us betting on a side in which we have to count on the coaches not screwing it up.
I agree with him. It doesn't feel like the Chiefs have found their identity in the playoffs, right? On offense, where it's like Mahomes, he's not here to be everyone's buddy anymore. Like, he was nice to all these receivers all season. He never went to the media about them. He kept trying to give them touches and looks. Now in the playoffs, he's kind of cold-blooded, right? It's like, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down with my best guys. And his best guys is who? Kelsey and Rice. So it seems like he's kind of shifted his focus where it's like, I don't mind forcing into my best guys if I know I can trust them. And we're going to break it down, obviously, like you said on Thursday, but it's like the matchups, what they can do on offense. I mean, Chris already nailed it. Like, there's a bunch of stuff they can do that can counter what the 49ers want to do. And I mean, you talked about it last week. Like, this 49ers defense, we both agreed, we don't think they're as good as people perceived, right? Like, there's a bunch of things you can attack on this defense that during the regular season, they kind of got away with. the playoffs, you don't get away with that, especially now we're giving 2 weeks to Andy Reid to prepare for this defense. So again, it all skews towards this Chiefs team. The more you dive into it, the more it feels like it skews to taking this +2.
All right. Hey, Matt Mitchell in the script. I'm gonna switch things up a little bit, just so you know. Nick, give me your best bet right now.
My best bet, or do we want to talk about the luck rankings?
Well, I want to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Well, so I think we should go to luck rankings because
Okay.
I'm not betting the over on this game, but this game is a luck over. And I think it's important to at least lead off with that because we just talked about the side here. Let's talk about the total. This game has a luck total of +2.6, which puts it in luck over territory for the playoffs. And look, the luck rankings this year, when we look at all the sides and the totals, when it met certain thresholds at certain points in the season, we would either bet on a side if it was, a luck difference of 24 or more, a luck gap of 50% or more, or a luck total if it hit certain plus or minus thresholds at different times of the year. The luck rankings went 50, 30, and 3 on the luck rankings picks in the regular season, which is 62.5%. And that's against closing lines, right? So the luck rankings are beating closing lines in a 83 game sample size. And so far in the playoffs, they're right there too. We said 50 and 30. Well, if you just divide those by 10, 5 and 3, that's what we are in the playoffs. So 62.5% in the playoffs as well, just based off luck rankings picks versus closing lines. And so, like I said, this is a luck total +2.6 in the playoffs. That's enough to be a luck over. Normally we would want at least 5 in the regular season, but because we have even more data, right? We accumulate weeks 13, 14, 15, 16, etc. We can start to narrow those thresholds down even further to show what truly is luck from variance. And luck totals above +1.6 are 10 and 3 to the over the last 6 years in the playoffs, and luck totals below -1.6. So that 1.6 number is pretty key. Are 22 and 7 to the under last 6 years in the playoffs. So combined, if it's beyond an absolute value of 1.6, then it's 32 and 10. The luck totals are 32 and 10 to the respective direction over the last 6 years. That's over 75% in the playoffs last 6 years. So pretty solid sample size there too, 42 games. If we just look at the Super Bowl, 4 of the last 5 Super Bowls have actually had luck totals below -2.5. So they were luck unders. And all 4 of those Super Bowls did stay under. So the luck rankings are 4-0 in the Super Bowl. So this one is a luck over, right? We're above that 1.6 number at 2.6 even. And that's broken down by Kansas City's luck team total +2.75. And San Francisco's luck team total -0.19. So Kansas City actually makes up the bulk of this potential to go over, which makes them the unlucky team in this matchup. That goes right along with what Raybon was talking about as well. They've been slightly more unlucky this year, the Kansas City Chiefs have. And so when I do it all out, when I do like my recency weighted, schedule adjusted expected scores, right? And the expected scores are the crux behind the luck rankings. They're saying, maybe a game was 40 to 15 or something, but the expected score was actually 30 to 20. Then is a little closer than, a 25-point blowout. Maybe it only should have been a 10-point game. So the recent schedule adjusted expected scores have this at around 47 to 47.5. So pretty close to right in line with what's out there. So I haven't made a play on the total, but for the luck ranking purposes, of course, we are grading this as a luck over against whatever the total closes at.
All right. Couple questions. Number one, why? Because I've already bet the under. And so this makes me sad. Because I have done fairly well betting on luck overs and unders this year. Historically, I have been a terrible totals better. You can look in the app, you can see my record, and you can see that like totals were not a place where I was performing well, except this year because I just decided if it's a luck ranking total, I'm betting it. So I'm disappointed. You've hurt my feelings. Simon, oh, wait, what is your expected score? You said Kansas City is +2.75. So where do you have like a popular prop is going to be Kansas City total points scored.
Mhm.
Where do you have it versus the market?
Yeah, so I would rate Kansas City to go over their team total. So, if you're looking at team totals here, I think Kansas City, instead of betting the total, why don't you just take the Kansas City team total over? Because when we combine the 49ers defense with the Kansas City Chiefs offense, what has happened is the 49ers have been a little lucky to hold teams to below scoring compared to what was expected in the games they played, just based off the play-by-play data. If we ran these games over, 10, 100,000 times, San Francisco got a little lucky to allow teams to score a little less than expected. And Kansas City, on the flip side, scored a little less than expected in their games. So overall, it's a combination of both San Francisco's defense and Kansas City's offense that just came in a little under on scoring, which means versus expectation, which means if they meet expectation, we expect the books will probably be setting Kansas City's team total a little bit too low. So I actually think that would be my favorite kind of way to play the luck rankings in this game.
Simon, we've already bet the under. What are we doing here?
I let it ride. I mean, we talk all the time.
Let it ride.
You're betting Super Bowl. You're betting what you believe is the game script, right? You're kind of projecting out. All my props are tied to it. It's just like last year. Me and you like the Eagles and the over. All my bets were tied to that. And it's the same with this year. It's like if the Chiefs, again, they could win with this being a shootout. Is that likely, Chad, for us? No. If this becomes a shootout, that's going to favor this 49ers team. So, if the way I projected out, I have it at 46. So obviously I like this number toward the under. The crazy thing I thought this week was a couple really sharp books moved to 48 and they got slammed with under money. So they quickly moved back down to 47.5. So no surprise here, Chad. The public, they like the over, the professionals like the under, and it's what we talked about, right? The two best scoring defenses. So we project out that these defenses played pretty well in this game. So the fact that I was hoping it was going to get to 49 or 48.5, and it doesn't feel like it's ever going to get there, Chad. It just feels like the professional money will come in. So won't be shocked if we see this just stay at 47.5 by the time the game kicks off.
And
I like.
I want to say to Simon's point here. When it opened at 48, right? I said based off of my schedule adjusted expected scores and stuff, which is using the luck rankings data, the expected scores that I had around between 47 and 47.5. So if you bet the opener under 48, I would have been, leaning with you guys as well. So just because the luck rankings say over doesn't mean I'm not willing to go against my own luck rankings either.
Well, that's good to know because I'm going against you and the luck rankings and it makes me sick to my stomach. So,
it does.
Raybon, it's interesting to me that Simon says all of these bets, it ends up being the bets you like the most play to the script that you expect the game to be. So, no surprise to me that one of your favorite props is
Patty Mahomes not to throw a pick. It's about even money on both sides right now. So I know you like that, Chad. I know it's not convinced me, but I figure I'll try to convince you to take this. So Mahomes in the regular and interceptions, you generally, you're going to use some large sample data too, because there is a lot of kind of up and down with that. But regular season, Patrick Mahomes throws a pick exactly half the time, half of his games, 48 to 96. In the postseason, that drops to 4 of 17. He's thrown a pick in. And he's playing some of the best ball of his life. And we kind of talked about it because you're going with Kelsey and Rice, like Simon mentioned, those are two pretty low to intermediate average depth to target guys. So they're very efficient targets that Rashee Rice is a wide receiver catching 6 balls a game, but his average depth to target is 5 yards downfield. So Mahomes is not really putting the ball in harm's way. Obviously, when you throw to Kelsey, you're not putting the ball in harm's way. And then I talked about 7 interceptions. Mahomes threw 14 on the year. 7 were to the 4 guys that played a combined 1 snap last week and may not play at all this week. So I don't think Mahomes' true interception rate is being factored into the market. They're more just kind of looking at this year, which was a career high because of all those guys. And then even lately, because Mahomes, they said, hey, we got a wake-up call after that Raider game. We kind of switched up our offense. We whittled it down. Mahomes hasn't had a turnover-worthy throw, according to PFF, a turn play, period. That includes fumbles or anything in 4 games. That's the longest stretch of his career, including 2018 when he was just playing on another planet. That spans, 132 attempts, 147 dropbacks. And then I got a ref stat. So Patrick Mahomes, since he became the starter, has had the most interceptions overturned by the refs by 5 times more than any other quarterback. Like, it's literally like Mahomes has like 50 of these things and no other quarterback has even 10. So if there's anyone likely to get a little bit of help, a little holding call, a little DPI come out late that overturns the pick, is going to be Patty. So I like Mahomes not to throw a pick. I'll bet this up to about -150. I think it's more like 60-40 that he doesn't throw a pick, and the market has it pretty even right now.
All right, Dr. Nick, before we take a break here for a second, do you think that because Mahomes has played so well that he plays, is he due for regression?
Well, I wouldn't say he's due for regression, but I would say, I'm kind of in line with Raybon here. I think he's probably not going to throw an interception just based off of what we've seen. All the things Raybon mentioned. I mean, look at those guys that he's been throwing interceptions to that aren't going to be playing. I think that's a huge part of it. And I do agree we need to look at his longer term average to kind of get where it is. So that doesn't mean he's going to throw an interception or not going to throw an interception. It's all, I mean, if we played this game a gazillion times over, I always go back to that. How many times would he throw an interception? And that's how I always do things as the math brain here. But I do think if he throws an interception, it's going to be to Charvarius Ward, the San Francisco 49ers cornerback. And going to Raybon's point here about longer term rates, if we look at Mahomes' career, the number one place he throws interceptions above expectation is to the right side of the field, shorter right side especially. And so that's where Charvarius Ward is covering, because he's the 49ers left cornerback, which means it'll be on the right side of the Chiefs offense. So he'll be guarding Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Justin Watson a whole lot, which are probably the guys that are going to be more likely to be picked off if Mahomes is throwing their way than a guy like Rashee Rice or Travis Kelce. So I wrote up my first bet, I think it was for the Super Bowl, was Charvarius Ward interception 10-1. That's since been bet down to +750. I think I still like it, a little thin value there at +750. So you can like both of them. You can like Mahomes not to throw an interception, but then if he does, also like Charvarius Ward as well. So that's kind of where I'm headed.
Well, look, we're always looking for ways to hedge. Simon, can you name the fastest growing ticketing app in the United States?
Game Time.
That's right. It's Game Time. I love Game Time for 2 reasons. They still sponsor this show. I actually also use Game Time all the time. They have amazing last-minute deals, including pro and college games. No joke. I just used Game Time to buy tickets to go see my alma mater, Indiana University, play against Northwestern in Bloomington, Indiana. But I'm going to take it one step further. I'm opening the Game Time app right now here from my house in Connecticut, in New York City. I can get in to see professional basketball. I can see the Nets for less than $20. I can see the Knicks for less than $80, all tonight in New York. No matter where you live, download the Game Time app, get out, have some fun this week. You deserve it. You can redeem code favorites for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, just download the Game Time app and use code favorites for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right, Nick, you just gave us a bonus with Charvarius Ward. Give us another one. You have something to say about Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, this is my favorite.
My mind reading.
We're on the favorites. This is my favorite Super Bowl prop. And that is Christian McCaffrey's first carry to go over 3.5 yards. So we'll already either have a bet won or lost, within his first carry of the game. But, if we just look this year, he's cleared 3.5 yards on the first carry in 11 of 16 games, including the playoffs this year, in games where Trent Williams also played. I think that's important because we want to make sure we're using the relevant offensive line here. And so that's a 68.9% rate that he's gone over. Now, we don't want to use a 16 carry sample size. That's not fair. So let's look at a larger sample size. Let's look at all rushes outside the red zone, not on 4th down, with Trent Williams this year. And I think that's fair because McCaffrey's first carry is not going to be in the red zone, most likely. His first carry this year occurred no closer than the opposing 45-yard line, and he didn't have a first carry on 4th down in the last several years. So I think it's a fair sample size. In that case, if we just look at those rushes, he clears 116 out of 217 times with a median of 4. So already the median's longer than 3.5. And that's 53.5%. That equates to minus 115. But I do think that's maybe like the worst case scenario. This number should be as minus 115. But I think if we narrow it down even further, we'll see it should be probably closer to minus 150. If we look at the scripted plays, right? So that's very often like the first 15 or so offensive plays. And I've trimmed it down to the first 12 offensive plays, allowing for the fact that there could be a penalty or two that kind of negates a play that would have been scripted. So if we look at each team's first 12 plays, I should say San Francisco's first 12 plays that they actually ran in each game, Christian McCaffrey cleared it 60% of the time, 37 out of 62. And his median wasn't 4 yards. His median was 5 yards. So half the time he had at least 5 yards on a carry. Now, if we just look at literally just the first 3 carries of the game, he's cleared it 65% of the time. So it seems like right off the bat, 49ers come out with a game plan to, really let Christian McCaffrey shine. He's cleared it, like I said, 65% of the time, 31 out of 48 carries of the first 3 carries of the game. He has cleared 3.5 yards. So, and it also makes a lot of sense to look at the beginning part of the game because what's happening in the second half? The 49ers are getting big leads, right? And so defenses can key in on the fact that they know Christian McCaffrey is going to run at a higher rate and limit his yards per carry. So I do think it makes a lot of sense to throw out a lot of that later game stuff, that second half stuff where defenses are kind of changing their game plan because they know the 49ers are changing their game plan to be more run heavy. So I think it's a fair sample size to say this is somewhere around a 60% chance of clearing or getting it. I got it at minus 110. It's since been bet to minus 115. Still love it at minus 115, considering I have at least minus 150 as fair value. And we haven't even mentioned he's going against Kansas City, who's 27th in defensive rush DVOA. That's 5% worse than the average team Christian McCaffrey has faced this year.
Simon, I feel like I'm already looking for ways to bet on the Niners that aren't ways to bet on the Niners to win the game. And that are on Christian McCaffrey. This feels like the perfect bet for someone like me right now.
He's also your boyfriend. You can't quit him. You've been obsessed with this guy this whole season. So
I am. I have him for MVP. I think he should have been MVP. I think I think he might be the best offensive player in football. He's the most dynamic. He runs hard. He finds the holes. He can catch out of the backfield. Nothing not to love about this guy.
And Nick had me for a second. I thought he was going to start off by telling us to take tails. I was like, oh my God, is he really going to go coin flip here? But no, he pulled a fast one. He went first carry of the game with McCaffrey. And just piggyback on what he said, the Chiefs, they struggle at contacted running backs in the backfield. They're like, I think they're 30th or 29th in the league at contacted running back behind the line of scrimmage. So right there plays right into what Nick's talking about. It's like they're not the kind of guys that just grab guys down behind the line. They usually let a guy pick up a couple yards before dragging them down. So we talked about they have undersized linebackers. Who's that benefit? McCaffrey in this run blocking scheme. So me and you joked about before we came on, Chad, if they run the ball 40 times in this game, I swear the 49ers will somehow win this game. It's just that's the weakness, the glaring weakness of this Chiefs team. So I'm fading a lot of props right now on this 49ers team, but ones I had piggybacked Nick off of is I like the McCaffrey props and Debo props. Like the Chiefs have struggled against guys in the slot. Debo runs out of the slot. I mean, his numbers already been juiced up to minus 120. I believe it's over 58.5 receiving yards now. Still love it. Like Debo, these are the kind of games he shines in. Like the games that he isn't playing for tomorrow, right? This is it. This is the perfect game for Debo, the man that uses his body more physically than anyone else. So that's where I'm at with the 49ers. Like I don't want to put too much money into them like you talked about. We're heavy in the Chiefs here, but there's just tons of value on this 49ers team that I can't pass on. That's definitely one of them. Playing McCaffrey, playing Debo, I love the value on both those guys this week.
All right, listen. I would like to run through MVPs for each of you. We've covered the side, we've covered the total, we've covered some fun props for Mahomes, for McCaffrey, interceptions. Let's do a rundown of MVP long shots, MVP picks. Raybon, let's start with you.
All right, so I'm gonna go with a guy in the Chiefs, and I think Nick is too. And I like hedging both of these guys together because I think both of them have a great shot. I'll go with the more obvious one. That's Travis Kelce at 14-1. So I think you're getting a little value on Kelce because we know over the last 20 years or so, a lot more pass catchers have won. You know, Branch, Edelman, Hines Ward, Santonio Holmes, Cooper Kupp. So we're starting to see a lot more pass catchers win. And then we know Kelce scored in 8 of the last 9 playoff games with Mahomes, 13 out of 17, and he's had 18 touchdowns overall. So there's a possibility, if he gets a touchdown. Remember, last time in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs put up 38 points last year. Mahomes only had 182 yards. He had 3 scores. But, if Kelce is able to put up a good yardage total with a touchdown, it's possible that, that Mahomes doesn't get it if the Chiefs win. Now, you look at San Francisco, their numbers have been good against tight ends on the year, but they really haven't faced anyone. The 3 toughest tight ends they faced, Sam Laporta, 9 catches for 97 on 13 targets. Trey McBride, 10 for 102 on 11 targets. And TJ Hawkinson, 11 for 86 on 12 targets. And then there is some precedent for like a legend like Mahomes if the Chiefs were to win to not get it. Because he's won 2, right? He's won 2 Super Bowls. He's won 2 MVPs. Well, Brady won 2. And then when he won his 3rd Super Bowl, Deion Branch won it. That's a pass catcher. When Brady won 2 more after that with the Patriots. Then his 3rd one, Julian Edelman wins it. So maybe there's a little bit of voter fatigue coming in when we know Kelce's the man of the hour now, with all the hoopla surrounding him. So I think he should be less than 14-1. I think he's a lot more in the mix here. But you're getting value because tight end has never won. You're getting value because San Francisco's been good against tight ends, and you've been getting value because I think the Chiefs are a little undervalued. So for all those reasons, I like Kelce.
Counter narrative. There's no bigger fan of Love than me. Everyone knows I love Love. Huge fan of Love. I am a massive fan of the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift storyline. I think that they just seem happy. And they seem to genuinely like each other. And he seems like a sweet guy. And I love her music. I want them to be together forever. I do think that sports writers are an irascible, unsentimental group. And while everyone would think, great, Travis Kelce, career capstone, I think because of Taylor Swift, they might vote against him. That's what I think. And this is a narrative award. I'm just saying, knowing sports writers the way I do, people will not want to be heartwarming in this spot. Nick Giffen, what's my alternative?
Yeah, well, I guess if you want to vote against the Swift Kelce narrative, then you're going to go to the other option in this receiving game, and that's Rashee Rice, 60-1. I got him 70-1. He's still 61. Still love that value at 60-1. I mean, if you like the MVP value on Kelce, and I can't argue against Raybon there, then you have to like Rashee Rice MVP at 61, because if we compare the two, Rashee Rice has been better than Travis Kelce in the second half of the year in this offense. Like if we look since Thanksgiving, targets per game, Rashee Rice 9, Travis Kelce 7.5. Explosive games, which I'm saying 90 plus yards, because that's kind of the minimum yardage needed for a receiver to win MVP. Rashee Rice 4, Travis Kelce 2. Touchdowns, Rashee Rice 4, Travis Kelce 3, because sometimes the MVP award is kind of a touchdown-based award. So Rashee Rice has been as good or better than Travis Kelce since Thanksgiving. So I think there's a lot of sneaky value in taking Rashee Rice. If we look, Raybon was mentioning all those receivers that have won. Let's just look at the last 2, which have occurred in the last 5 years. Cooper Kupp 2 years ago and Edelman 4 or 5 years ago. Cooper Kupp had 8 catches on 10 targets, only 92 yards. He didn't even crack the century mark, but he had 2 touchdowns, which I think put him over the top there. And then Edelman, he had 10 catches on 12 targets for 141 yards, but he had no touchdowns. So those are within Rashee Rice's range of outcomes. He's put up numbers exactly like those, other than the multi-touchdown game. But if he goes 10 for 12, 141, and 1 touchdown, that is a very MVP-worthy stat line. I think that's a stat line that Travis Kelce has only really met once since Thanksgiving. And, of course, that was, the most recent playoff game here in the conference championship. But Rashee Rice has met that stat line combined with catches, yards, and touchdowns like 3 times since Thanksgiving. Rashee Rice also, he only lines up on the outside right side where he would be facing Charvarius Ward 20% of the time. And I think Kansas City would be, especially with 2 weeks to plan, would be smart to scheme him up away from Charvarius Ward even more, which could make this offense really Kelsey, Rashee Rice, and Pacheco focused, with Mahomes, of course, dishing it out to those guys. So I think this becomes a pretty concentrated offense, which means it becomes a pretty concentrated MVP race, at least if you look at Kansas City winning, and then the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, we can't neglect the defense, but ideally, if Kansas City wins, it's going to come from the offense. Another guy who's in that same price range, George Kittle on San Francisco's side of the ball. He has one extra mouth to deal with than Rashee Rice has. He's got Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. That's 4 guys that he has to contend with. Rashee Rice mainly has 3 other offensive players, like I mentioned, Mahomes, Kelsey, and Pacheco to contend with. So he's got less competition at a similar price range as George Kittle. And then if we look at Travis Kelsey, who's down in the teens, very similar stat line, very similar competition level because they're on the same team. He's just so much longer. So, if I do some back of the napkin math, we just look at the Chiefs money line. That's like 45% to win. If we say Mahomes wins it 75% of the time, let's be generous there and say Mahomes win at 75%. If it's split equally between Kelsey, Pacheco, and Rashee Rice, then that should put Rashee Rice around 30-1. If we say, well, it should favor Kelsey, then that would put Rashee Rice around 45-1. So I think anything longer than 45-1 is value.
All right, Simon, we've got 2 Chiefs long shot MVPs. Are you going to close it out for us?
Yeah, I call this the Cowherd bet. Who is Cowherd's favorite player in this game, Chad?
Patrick Mahomes.
No, it's Sam Darnold. You've not ever watched that man's show? Jesus Christ. Sam Darnold. And it's a stupid bet. I hate it, but it's a bet I have to make. It's a bet where we've seen Purdy go down in the first quarter of a playoff game before. We've seen him take blindside hits because Shanahan schemed up wrong and he blocked one of the best DNs in football with a tight end. Like, these things can happen. So it's crazy. But Sam Darnold right now is 200-1. So I'm going to throw a little bit on that. It's crazy odds. You need a miracle to hit it, but I love those kind of bets. Obviously, the boring chalk bet is going to be Mahomes, so I'm staying away from that. I get it if you want to play that, but I like long shots. So my second big long shot is Fred Warner. It's all there, right? Like, if he could get turnovers, he can make big stops. I could see him stealing this award just because he's a recognized name. You talked about the writers love him, right? If you're a beat writer of the 49ers, you love him. And then the Chiefs side, they respect all of him. I mean, I think he just set the record for most tackles in the playoffs for the 49ers defense historically. Like, this guy has just been incredible. His whole career has been incredible. No one has a bad word to say about Fred Warner. And that we always talk about their narrative-driven awards. So that's why I like Sam Darnold. That's a crazy story. If he just came in and threw for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, I know it sounds stupid, but I could see him winning this. Same goes to Fred Warner. Fred Warner gets a pick 6, any type of turnover that flips the game. I could easily see him winning this award just because what Nick talked about. The 49ers are going to cannibalize each other on offense. So it's going to be really hard to pick a guy out there where defensively, there's a couple of guys that stand out. Like Ward you could take as well, but I like the price on Fred. We just see time and time again, linebackers usually have a bigger impact on these type of games. So, yeah, I like Fred, and I like the long shot, Sam Darnold.
A lot of Fred Warner fetishizing goes on in press boxes, media rooms, you name it. Sports writers love themselves some Fred Warner. Simon, everyone that knows me, including you, including Matt Mitchell, knows I'm obsessed with eating well. I avoid sugar, truth. I avoid seed oils, truth. My body is a temple. I seek out quality in everything I eat, including meat and seafood. That's why I love our friends at Good Chop. Good Chop offers fully customizable boxes of high quality, all American meat and seafood, and they deliver them to your door on your schedule. We're talking 100% grass-fed ribeyes, USDA prime fillets, thick-cut bacon, wild-caught salmon, and shrimp, just to name a few. If you are too busy betting Super Bowl props to head to the grocery store or wait in line at a butcher, Good Chop has you covered, and it won't cost a fortune. Good Chop's price per meal starts at just $3.74, and that includes a 100% money-back guarantee. Love Good Chop or get your money back. Go to goodchop.com/fantasy favorites120 and use code favorites120 to get $120 off across your first 4 boxes. That's code at favorites120 at goodshop.com/favorites120 for $120 off. goodshop.com/favorites120, code favorites120. All right. I promised that we would have the winner of our contest come on after the show or during the show. Matt Mitchell spoke to him. Number one, shout out to the guy on Twitter who submitted Mahomes and Auto, looked up the median home and auto prices in the Kansas City Metroplex for his prop. That's Brian Goldberg and his son, Gerald. Let's see. Other finalists here. Hold on. Let's see. There was a blackjack prop. Either team to score exactly 21 points at any point during the game. There was a hit on 16 prop. That was, let's see what that one was. Either team converts 3rd and 16 or 4th and 16 for a first down. Matt Mitchell, you want to come in and take this away?
You're muted, brother.
Matt Mitchell is muted.
Nice.
Oh my God. It's not even, dude, I just gave Matt Mitchell his review. I congratulated him on successfully recording all the podcasts throughout 2023. And now
I can air these grievances because no one in the podcast will ever hear them. Only the live show people.
I can't.
I tell you, Chad, all the shit in red, I will read, and you just blow right through it. That's fine. I'll keep it professional, on or off mute.
I did forget that.
To wrap this up.
I did forget that. Matt Mitchell, just take it away.
To wrap this up, one, I want to shout out Josh Chavis on Twitter for posting that he couldn't figure out who Brock Purdy looked like, and he finally figured it out. And it's Lee Harvey Oswald. I've never seen something more correct. So shout out to Josh Chavis. I also want to thank all of the many listeners who submitted props. I was overwhelmed with how many we got. Sorry I couldn't get back to everybody. Outstanding job. I'm sorry we could only pick one, and ultimately it was up to gaming regulations and Bet365 for what they picked. So in my mind, you're all winners. Thank you for listening. I also want to thank Michael Sard and his shirt company, Tombolo, which makes extremely vibrant terry cloth based shirts, of which I'm a big fan. Turns out he is a listener of the show and is sending Chad, Simon, and myself Super Bowl shirts that they are creating. I'm very excited to slip terry cloth against my Adonis-like body. I'm sure you are too, Chad. I told them I wasn't sure they made shirts that small, but they're going to try. Finally, it's time, though, for you, Chad, to announce the winner of the contest. Please take it away.
All right, so this is me.
That's
Okay.
right.
Bet365 selected a winner from listener Chandler Baljamin. It is titled The Broctopus. Brock Purdy to record an octopus at plus 1400, which is now live on Bet365 under Super Bowl specials. Reminder, a Broctopus, an octopus, that would be Brock Purdy to run or throw for a touchdown, Brock Purdy to run or throw for a 2-point conversion. Matt, we're going to bring you back in. He spoke to Chandler. Congrats to Chandler. Thank you for playing. Thank you for listening. Here is the interview that Matt did with Chandler.
Joined by our Favorites podcast Bet365 Super Bowl prop contest winner, Chandler Baljamin. Chandler, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me on.
Chandler, where are you coming to us from?
Beautiful Phoenix, Arizona.
And what is your racket out there, Chandler? What do you do?
I work for a software company. It's a lot of staying inside and watching a lot of football.
And do you have any people or animals that live with you?
Yeah, I got a couple cats. One named Cam Newton. Got him during the 2015 season. That was all about him. So
Cam Newton. Well, that's wonderful. Congratulations to you and to Cam Newton for your big win. Can you, obviously for everyone by now knows the winning pick was the Brocktopus, Brock Purdy to record an octopus in the Super Bowl. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came up with this prop?
yeah, it all starts with the fun name. I wanted to stay away from any Kelsey antics or Chiefs antics. I'm a big Raiders fan, so I knew I wanted to focus on the Niners. And I was thinking about the names, and I remembered Brocktober you guys talked about, and I could almost hear it in Scott Hansen's voice just saying Brocktopus, and that was that. I wanted to bet it and didn't really think about plausibility or anything, but I think I want something that I want to root for, and people are going to want to root for, which is Brock Purdy beating these Chiefs. So,
wow, a Raiders fan with a job. I can't believe we really needle in a haystack situation for us.
it's amazing. More than 3 hots on a cot for sure.
Chandler, why do you think Bet365 chose yours? We got a ton of submissions. What do you think made yours stand out?
Well, I think Brock's a great story, and like for me personally, it stays away from Mahomes or Kelsey. I think I liked Kelsey, how much you can save. I was trying to get that to work, but we're just tired of all those commercials. And, I think there's more room to root for the Niners, and Brock Purdy's got this cool story, and Octopus is something people have hopefully heard of, but it's still kind of in the know. So just fun to say, and we can all yell it out when it happens.
Do you think you will be placing money on this wager yourself?
100%. Just found out that it's now going to be live in my state, so cannot wait to place that bet. And still thinking about which side will be on, but absolutely have to bet it.
Have you been listening to the Favorites podcast for very long?
About 3 years, I'd say. So,
oh
yeah,
wow,
about as long
well,
as I've been betting.
that's terrific. Do you have any feedback to give Chad or Simon?
No, I think it's better when they're fighting. The more that Chad is representing the public and Simon can kind of berate him. This season went off the rails because the public did really well, and I think Simon Says probably didn't do as well as Exec Decision. So hopefully next season it gets back to where it's supposed to be. But more of that contention. It's great. The guys do a great job. It's fun to listen to. So.
Well, I appreciate that. Before we go, do you have a favorite bet that you won or lost, or most memorable moment from gambling this season?
This season, my favorite bet was the Bills at home hosting the Dolphins. I think it was like -2.5, and every bone in my body just said, "Bet the house on this thing. It's the safest bet." And it just within minutes, it was completely safe. I think we all felt that way. It was a Simon Says, I believe, and I'm sure you were all over that as well. But those are the best. It makes losing 5 times on the Panthers feel better when you get those sure ones. So that was probably my favorite.
That is excellent pandering by you, Chandler, and A+ job working the Carolina Panthers into this interview. Before we get out of here, anything else you would like to add, Chandler?
I'll just say I think Brock Purdy +220 Super Bowl MVP is the best bet. I'm getting the quarterback on the consensus favorite at just a great number. So I would hit that while it's still that high.
Outstanding. Well, thank you so much for your submission. Congratulations on your win, and thank you for taking the time to join us.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And thanks, Bet365. Can't wait to place my bet on the Brocktopus.
Congratulations again to Chandler. Thanks so much to Matt Mitchell for performing such a professional interview. I'm hoping people continue to compliment him in the YouTube chat. I know he always enjoys your comments. As a reminder, the Favorites podcast is presented by Bet365. Bet365 is now live in Indiana and Arizona, and Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day, they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays, and they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boosts. Check out the boost and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, restrictions apply. Be sure to catch our next episode of The Favorites live on the Action Network YouTube page this Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern. I will be coming to you live from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. Download us from Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your pods. Rate, review, subscribe, leave us 5 stars, say whatever you want. Feedback is a gift. Until Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Love you.